welcome to GBN Live. I'm your host, Tracy Hansen. I'm with the Saybrook chapter of GBN. So what's up, Saybrook? Today we have Christa Votaw with us, and she is from our West Ashley chapter, I believe. Before we get started, I would like to thank our sponsor, Grand Strand Law Group. They have offices in Myrtle Beach and North Myrtle Beach. Their phone number is 843-492-5422. You can also reach them at grandstrandlawgroup.com. They want to be your trusted advisor. If you have some trouble leaving comments, you can go to streamyard.com/Facebook, and that will grant us permission to show your comments. So if you have any comments or questions for GBN or for today's guest, just leave them in the comments section, and we will be sure to get to them. Today's guest, Christa Votaw, and she is with the West Ashley chapter. She is a mortgage lender, and we will get into that in just a minute. So stay tuned. Welcome, Christa. Good to have you.
Yes, welcome. Hello, everybody. I am excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me on.
Very good. And you're in West Ashley, correct?
I am. Yeah, I'm in the West Ashley chapter here in Charleston, and I love networking. I love being a part of GBN and the group, and love reaching out to community. And I actually on John's Island. I have 3 kids, just turned 8, 6, spring break and summer just started. So fun for that. And then I also have a very supportive husband, and I have a little 2-year-old that's going to be 2 at the end of the month. So
Oh, wow.
it's fun being here in Charleston, but I'm a busy mama, and and I love what I do.
I know. We were just talking before the show about how now you have to get used to life without school going on right now.
I know.
So it's like this week is such a transition because, last week there was school, so I had my days, and now all of a sudden there's no school. So I have to replan how everything goes during the day,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's so good to have such a supportive husband that helps with everything, and, working mom, and, he works too, but we're able to figure it out and make it work. So
yeah, that's great. You have to have that.
Good. Yeah.
Especially in today, especially with a few kids, everybody's going off in a different direction.
I agree. And as they get older, it gets harder.
Yeah.
Well, the little one is the easiest because fortunately we're able to still keep him in daycare for part of the summer. So he's still going to be taken care of, during that time. So
yeah, I know. Yeah. It is a lot of juggling though.
Yeah.
So now you are with Clear Mortgage, and
yes, I am.
How long have you been with them?
So I've been with Clear for 3 years. I'm actually a part owner as well of the company. So it's amazing that I'm able to have that opportunity. And, we really thrive on the truth and transparency, and be able to really open the eyes up into the market and how we can really help and provide those, what's needed for our customers and clients. Speaking of clients, somebody's calling me right now. But that's that's part of the business for sure. You're always are trying to be there and be there for people. But yeah, I mean, I love what I do, and I love helping families figure out kind of the next steps, analyzing situations to say, how can you potentially build wealth in a different way? And I really work with different financial advisors and different planning people that plan to say, okay, what are your goals? And then maybe there's some different ways that we can help. If you already own a house, how can we help use your equity to get you there? Or if you don't, a lot of first-time home buyers, they get kind of scared, especially in this market that's going on right now. A question that I ask a lot of first-time home buyers is, if you could have bought a house 10 years ago, would you have? And guess what most of them say? Everybody says, yeah, of course. So I kind of like to remind people of that. And you don't always have control over what's going on in the market, but you do have control over what you have now. And so if it's the right time, and you have the funds and you have the money, as long as there's the payments okay, we'll worry about refinancing and doing those things at a later time if that's going to be in your best interest. But let's get you into the house now, as long as you can afford what you're getting.
Yeah, as a realtor, one of the things saying that we have is marry the house but date the rate, because you can change
Yeah.
that, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but you talk about, you know, the different steps that you help people with along the way, and especially like first time home buyers, they don't know, all right, what do I do? Where do I start? Um, you know, and I always tell people, what the first thing you have to do is find out what you can afford, and you know, a pre-qualification letter. So I would think you would agree with that. In your opinion, why is that such an important step, and why should it be the first step?
Yeah, it is so important. It's actually statistically kind of shown that over the years, especially I think through COVID and through media and through just the accessibility of everything online and what people have, there used to be stats to where they were going to realtors first years ago, and then it slowly has shifted. And I think that with the consumers that are out there wanting to have that information in their fingertips, they're actually tending to go towards the lending first to make sure that they do qualify for what they need, to then where we can then bring them back to an agent that we work with, to get them qualified. And it's so important because you don't want somebody out there looking at homes that aren't in their price range that they end up falling in love with, and then they get the sticker shock. So one of the other questions I ask a lot of first-time home buyers is, what do you want? What would you want your mortgage payment to be? Like, what do you want that payment to look like? And it's funny, I've actually had people say, like, I don't know. I'm like, well, no, actually you do. It's a hypothetical. It's a
Right.
situational. You know what you want your payment to be. It's okay if it's only $500. We might not be able to get any home
Right.
for that. But like, let's
But you
set
got
that
to know, you know.
expectation. Right. So if you're coming in saying, okay, I know that I can do this comfortably, well, let me show you what that looks like on paper. And then does that align with what you see and what you need for you and your family? And that's
Right.
kind of the conversation of how I get it started with first time home buyers, and, getting all the documentation. And a lot of times buyers don't know, and they go to sometimes their bank first, and fine.
Right.
But know that that's not the all be all, because a lot of times when you go to the banks, they're going to have stricter regulations, and they're going to say you need, 20% down, or you need to get your credit up to a certain amount. And, there's a lot of different loans and different programs for the right people. So I don't like to call it an application. I actually call it a buying power evaluation, because what it's doing is truly evaluating your current situation, and then what we're going to do is find different lending solutions that's going to fit what you're looking for and what your goal is.
Right. I like that approach too. That's great, because they need a little, you know, even if you're not a first time home buyer, you may not have bought a home for 20 years, you know, so
Mm-hmm.
you really are, in a way, you know, a first time home buyer, you know, just a
Absolutely.
way of what you need to know, and, you know, what documents you need, you know, that kind of thing. Do you have any specific programs for first time home buyers to kind of help them a little more, or, you know,
Yeah,
get
I
them
mean,
started?
there's lots of different programs out there, and it's funny that you kind of say it that way, but I feel like a lot of it just has to do with from a marketing standpoint, because you always have programs for down payment assistance that I have access to, for where you can get a loan, a loan or a forgivable loan for the down payment on an FHA loan, to where you can either get 3.5% or 5%. There's also different grants and different things that you can apply for, through the state, here in South Carolina as well, that I know of different programs that after you purchase, you can actually, apply for these different things. So you can actually get money back after closing. And a lot of people don't know about that. So it's knowing those different things that you could potentially do and take advantage of as a consumer. And then me helping you say, okay, what do you need? And then how can I help? And I think that if you come from that place of service and that servant mind heart, you're really going to be able to impact and help lots of different families in lots of different ways.
I agree. Yeah, because it really is all about service, and, you know, getting from point A to point B and helping that person do it. Because I mean, this is something people don't do a lot. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, we
Yeah,
take it for
absolutely.
granted because we do it every day. You know,
Yeah,
but
and I try to remember that I talk about, if I'm talking about, the CD or the LE
Right.
and
Right.
the EMD, like what they
Right.
don't know what I'm talking about. And if for people that are like, what are you saying? We need to slow down and remember that. And I really do try to make sure that I let them know, hey, if you have any questions, feel free to slow me down, let me ask me, I'm going to explain it to you, right? The loan estimates at the beginning of the process and the closing disclosures at the end and your earnest money deposit, right? Those are all the
Right.
things that we have lingo for, if you will, in the
Right.
business. But if you're speaking to somebody, normally they don't understand half of what you're saying. So we just have to keep that in mind. And I really like to try to keep that line of open communication so that if you do have questions, like you're not hesitating to ask. You can,
Right.
text, call, email, and me and my team would be able to reach out, to you at any time and answer any questions you may have.
Right. I assume that probably a first question that people do have for you is, what documents do I need? What do I need to gather? So what would
Yeah.
be something that they should probably maybe start getting together even before they even call you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's great. The main thing that you're looking at when you're analyzing somebody's like situation, you're looking at a 2-year history, and basically you really need to qualify them on income, and then it's what debts and liabilities are against you. Credit is also a small piece of it, but if you have the assets and the credit and the income, it kind of forms that triangle for a mortgage triangle. And if you have all three of those pieces, then you're able to kind of move forward on a loan. So the main thing though is really the income and making sure that we're looking at that right. One of the amazing things that our company is, we use a software program called Blend for our initial applications. And it's an intuitive software that when you go on and you apply, based off of the way that you answer questions and you move through the application, it's going to automatically let you know what documentation is going to be needed and create a list, a task list for you from step one. So if you say that you're a self-employed borrower, guess what? It's going to ask you for tax returns. Have you been in business for 5 years? Then we need 2 years of return, or maybe we only need 1 year return if you've been over 5 years in business, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of my job, is to help with that and analyze that. But if you're just a W-2 employee and you get overtime and commission, it'll automatically prompt you in the system to say, provide your last 30-day pay stubs, but I noticed that you're trying to use commission. Please provide the last 2 end of year pay stubs as well. So it really picks up on what's needed and does create that very intuitive list to make sure that you do get the complete documentation that's needed from the beginning.
That's great. Yeah. And then this way, when they're speaking to you, they kind of already have the process already started,
Yes,
So
absolutely.
how long would an approval process normally take? And I know it can get delayed by certain things, so what are
Yeah,
some of those things
absolutely.
that could delay it that someone would look for?
From Yeah, so from an initial application, we like to have it processed within 3 hours, that to be able to give
Wow.
you a callback return and let you know, hey, this is kind of where we're standing. After that analysis is done, we'll come back and kind of say, okay, I need to get this, or any documentation that's needed. If you didn't provide pay stubs, or if you're saying, hey, it's just a salary job, that's going to be a little bit easier of an approval than if we need to collect more documentation. But we'll have that initial call on that application up front, and then be able to say, okay, based off of this application, I need to make sure that we get X and Y, or maybe I need to get a written verification of employment with income from your employer to show the different pays that we can use. And it's me analyzing all of that and kind of explaining, what's needed in order to see how fast we can get that whole approval through. But
Right.
I've done a full application pre-qualifications, even on a to be determined TBD property, within a couple of hours.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's great.
Yeah,
And like I
yeah.
said, as a realtor, that's very helpful for us too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important too to make sure that you talk about all the pieces with the client. And I'm not afraid of that. That's why I like to ask the question about, what's your monthly payment? What are you looking for? And then being realistic with them. And then two, it also tells you your A, B, and C's, right? If you know you have a really good borrower, but yet they need, grandma's trust fund to come through for her condo to get the money for the sale or for them to
Yeah.
buy, and they know they're not going to have it for a couple months, I will explain to my client and say, listen, you're doing everything, especially first-time home buyers. They get kind of antsy with it. I'm like, listen, you're doing everything right. We're taking this look. And the great thing about the way that I process my applications is up front, we just do a soft credit inquiry in the beginning. So we're not actually doing the full tri-merge. And then we can kind of analyze it and determine and say, listen, you're doing everything right. This is giving me enough information for me to get what you need. Let's wait. Don't look at this market. Look at it, and be excited. But what's on the market today isn't going to be there in 6 months when you get that money. So let's be smart about how we're moving forward. And I feel like that's a big communication piece, especially on the realtor side, because if the client understands that and is hearing that from the realtor and hearing it from their lender, they're going to understand, okay, I really might need to wait because it's not the right time, but they can be prepared for when it is.
Right, exactly. And then you get prepared and then you're ready to go. When you see that house that you want, you're all set.
And the reason why I like the soft credit pull is because, not that I'm a credit advisor in any way, and I'm sure that there's some amazing credit advisors within the GBN Greater Business Networking community, but I am able to be dangerous with it and say, okay, let me help give you some tips. And so I'll kind of give small credit tips to where if I have that soft pull and maybe they're not buying it for a couple of months, I might be able to say, just change your habits, because a lot of people don't realize when you're paying off a credit card every single month at the end of balance, and that high balance, maybe you're putting everything on there to get all of the points, and it's $5,000 a month you're paying, whatever it is, and you pay it off though every single month. Well, your credit report is going to report that higher balance limit. If you change your habit and instead of paying it off one time a month, you pay it off every Friday, it's going to reduce the utilization, which is the thing that it reads on the most, and you're going to get all your same spending habits, and you're going to get all of your points. So it's sometimes just tips like that people don't realize how much that can affect their credit. And so if they change and tweak those little things prior to, then they could really be in a different credit tier, and because credit moves in increments of 20, and just having that knowledge and explaining that and taking the time to care and really explain that, I think really helps my business, because people see that, and that I'm going to be willing to help however I can.
Yeah, and that's a great tip, and that's so easy to do, but it's
Correct.
something you wouldn't think about.
You would not. Absolutely not.
Wouldn't think to do that. They think they're doing the right thing,
paying
Correct.
It off, by paying off in full.
Yep. Doing, and you're not.
Yeah, and that's something that, right? Why would you think that? I mean, you're like, I wouldn't have known that if I wasn't in this industry. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah. All right, well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and after the break, we're going to discuss refinancing and if this could be a good option for our viewers. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Justice Ann. I've been a canine liaison at Grand Strand Law Group for, 30 years? What's that? You don't believe me? I meant 30 dog years, of course. First rule of lawyering, read the fine print. Anywho, my humans at Grand Strand Law Group have a combined 20 years experience. I know, not as much as me, but that's in people years. So yeah, still pretty impressive. Real estate, estate planning, or probate, you need GSLG.
Grand Strand Law Group. Trust us, we have a dog.
Great Business Networking grew out of the idea that by creating lasting friendships within the community, we can make the community even better.
I was looking to network with professionals and to be able to refer my clients to somebody that I trust.
Well, it's really important to trust the members of the group because we really generate quality referrals, and to know somebody, be friends with them, and get that qualified referral is the key to success.
It is networking, but it doesn't feel like networking, and that is important to me. I come to the meetings, I have fun, I make great connections, and I help grow my business.
GBN, these are some of the best professionals in the market, and having that resource available to me, that's priceless.
Well, GBN is a network of business professionals that build long-lasting friendships that will not only grow my business, will grow yours as well. That's what referral marketing is all about.
GBN really is the most important marketing for your business. Check us out today.
Well, welcome back to GBN Live. I'm your host, Tracy Hansen, and with me today is Christa Votaw, and she is with the West Ashley chapter and also co-owner of Clear Mortgage. So welcome back. All right. Well,
Thank
before
you.
the break, we were talking about, steps that the borrower can take and to be better prepared. But I want to kind of jump into refinancing because that's another big part of your business, I'm sure. Especially in the last few years, I would imagine. So how would a client know if this is a good option for them and if it is a good time for them to do that? Is it personal, individual, depending on where you are in your mortgage process, or is it just
It really
rate?
depends. I think it's so situational, in my opinion. And so especially with what's going on now and where we have been, and I know that you kind of had briefly touched upon it, but yes, refinances are definitely a part of the mortgage industry. And a couple of years ago, right, when COVID happened, we had this amazing, crazy dive and dip in the market rate for that, people that were homeowners are able to take advantage and be refinancing and taking advantage of properties and getting their value on their interest rate down and really, being able to hone in on that. And people that were buying were able to purchase more. And so, it's just a really good time from a market standpoint in that sense. But for every good time, right, I guess bad times have to follow in the sense of the market's definitely shifted and changed. We're now in a very different environment and rates are a lot higher and a lot different. So now though, the equity that's built over these past couple of years though has been massive. And so the people that do own homes have this incredible equity in their house that now, originally you're usually looking at a 4 to maybe 6-7% equity per year on a home. During the past couple of years, they actually were going up at a rate of like 18%, which is just unheard of from a housing perspective, from an interest perspective. And it has slowed down, but they're still evaluated at high, and it's holding steady and true because of the way that the appraisals hold. And that when you sell a house, what is recorded is what it sells for, or the appraised value, right? It's for what it sells for. So even if you end up paying more than what that appraised value was, the second that you have it, you have that equity in the house. And so people tend to forget that you just created the comp for your neighborhood. And so when that was going on and people were having to bid like that, they were forcing all this equity in the home. So now you have the option of saying, okay, we're here now. One, do I want to look at it a cash out refinance? Does that make sense to where I'm changing my actual interest rate and then lumping in maybe other debts that you can take care of that way? Or is it better to just tap into the equity? And a lot of times at different banks and different standards, you're held to different, what we call as loan to values, to where you can only have your loan be so high based off of the value of your house. So I actually have some other products to where you can actually have a higher loan to value depending on what your needs are for the funds. So it's a really good way to tap into that and be able to use that equity and the marketability to either, one, pay off some debts that you have that you're wanting to reduce and then have a lower monthly payment altogether, or a lot of people have been actually taking that equity and then reinvesting it back into the market, because real estate is still a really good investment despite the market and the rates and everything. Because again, go back to the question, would you have bought a house 10 years ago? right? So it still is a good investment when you look at it from an overall, and people are pulling out of stocks and things and going into invest, they see that that's where value could potentially be. And by pulling out that equity and then maybe purchasing an investment property, you can actually do an investment property with something called a debt service coverage loan, to where you don't actually have to show any income. And if the rental of that property makes more than what the mortgage payment would be, you can purchase that home. So what happens is you're able to turn a passive income from the net equity from a home that you purchased, while they're both gaining equity from the market value still. So that's why a lot of people are using that equity to obtain others, to make sure that they're putting themselves in a good position for later on in life.
And it's a smart idea, definitely. Do you see that mortgages or refinance or anything like that is busier at one time of a year than another, or is it pretty much the same? And would that affect the approval process?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily affect the approval process because that's kind of standard for, who you're working with and who you're talking to. There are definitely going to be busier times than not just because of fluctuation for holidays and different things. And, usually like February is right, it's going to be your slower time. So sometimes what people will do is actually take advantage of that. And if you end up finding something in listing, you might be able, from a buyer's perspective, during those slower times, if you will, take advantage and find something better if you're willing to make that move when it's maybe a little bit less convenient, right? Moving during a school year or something like that. But if you're willing to, as a consumer, to do that, you might be able to reap some of that benefit. A lot of times the summers, and they definitely will pick up. And then right at school time, I wonder why it kind of slows down again, right? As everybody's getting ready for school and prepping, they have other things that they have to worry about and focus on. But overall, at least in South Carolina, and in the Charleston market, and then also in Myrtle Beach markets, they're very strong markets just because of the economy that's here. And you have influx of people that live here, but then also on a vacation. So there's multiple different people that are looking for those type of investments in that area. And you really want to make sure that you're aligning yourself with a good realtor and a good lender to make sure that they're providing you with the value that you need when you're looking for those properties.
Absolutely. So if somebody had some questions about the mortgage process, where could they go to get those questions answered?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, email is great. Texting. I mean, I'm good with texting. They can research and look at Clear Mortgage or a clearwayhomesc.com. But they can, but there's many places, and honestly, part of what we do in life is, right, we love to talk, and we love to make friends, and we like to find people that we can talk and network with. And so if we focus on that aspect from a business standpoint, you're going to be able to reach more people by saying, hey, this is what I do, and if anybody ever has any questions, don't hesitate to call or reach out. And the more that we're able to spread that, the better we can kind of spread the message of like, hey, I'm here to help. Because not all lenders are created equal, in my opinion. They're all different. It's the same thing as calling a customer service. Sometimes it's only as good as the person that you get, and you call back and you get a different answer. And so you have to make sure that you're partnered with the right person to make sure that you're getting that information that's needed. And I've been in the industry for a while and know kind of all the ins and outs of, what about the builders and how does that work? And, is that going to be a good deal? Or what if I go with their lender versus you? And just answering and being honest about it. I tell my people all the time that are looking, I said, let me see what other people are providing for you, and let me see if I can help.
So to apply, if somebody wanted to go ahead and apply for a mortgage with Clear Mortgage, they can do that on your website, or
they could do it on my website. Yeah, they could do it on the website. So they can go to two places, right? Clearmortgage.com, and they'd be able to find and look up a loan officer and find me. Or I do have my own personal page that's called a Clearway Home SC, and they'd be able to find me and my team and then apply there as well. And then honestly, you could just shoot me a text, and 843-647-9686. I'm sure it's there somewhere that somebody could find, but you could find it at GBN. So, but you could find it, anywhere. But I think it's good to know, and I'm licensed in multiple states too, not just here in South Carolina. I have Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, Ohio, Illinois, Wisconsin, Alabama, Kentucky, and then we're also in multiple states. So if they're people that are looking to move somewhere else, like I can always get them in touch with somebody. You should always feel, especially in relocation, that you do have somebody on your side. You want to make sure that you get to pick your lender and who you work with, the same way you get to pick your realtor, the same way you get to pick your house, like you have the right team working for you.
Right. Awesome. Well, it's been great talking to you. Thank you for the great information that you provided for us. You can get in touch with Christa again, 843-647-9686. You can shoot her a text, give her a phone call, email Christa.Votaw, VOTAW, at clearmortgage.com. You can get in touch with her that way. She seems pretty easy to get in touch with. So I would say give her a call or text, ask your questions, get the process started. And Christa, before we go, I do have one more question for you.
Yeah.
Because this is a GBN show. So why is referral marketing so important to your business? And specifically, why did you choose GBN to be a part of?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've actually been involved with GBN for a couple of years now, and I personally love it. I think that it is such an amazing community. The self-awareness of making sure that you do, friends first, business second is so key, because when we're out in the community and we're talking to people, the way that we can elevate and lift people's businesses together, I mean, that's true growth. And by being friends and by networking and getting to know people, that's how you were in conversation can help people and refer people. And so
Absolutely.
It's important to make sure that we're using that to help with supporting each other and growing our businesses together, because that's how we can all thrive. And if we come in with a lack mindset, or not wanting to really help, then networking probably isn't for you. But then maybe not, being an owner isn't for you either. so you have to have that right mindset in order to be where you are. And it's important to be with like-minded people and have that mastermind group to make sure that you can really truly be not only elevating but challenging yourself so that you're at the next level.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you again for joining us. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for watching today, everyone. And remember, if it's Wednesday, it's GBN Live. So see you next time.